We are a championship school, and we make legends. Join the Crimson Tide as they look to continue to rise to the top of the NCAA basketball mountain. Every game, all season, right here on your home for Alabama basketball, the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner at University Kia, proudly saying Roll Tide and War Eagle. Stop into University Kia today and shop one of the area's largest selection of new Kias, including Fortes, Seltos, Telluride, and Popular Carnival, and fully electric EV6. View all the great specials at universitykia.com and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia you really want, because we want to see you in a University Kia.
Hey there, Bob Baumhauer again. Baumhauer's Victory Grill is extremely proud to have recently received numerous awards, including being voted best wings in the state of Alabama. Other awards received include Best All-Around Restaurant, Best American Restaurant, #1 Sports Bar, Best Chef, Best Wings, and Best Dining Experience. Thank you for 43 legendary years, and we look forward to providing you an award-winning dining experience at every visit. Baumhauer's Victory Grill. Legendary fun, legendary food.
If hunting and outdoor recreation are your passions, it all starts with the right property. That's where I come in. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction, a hunting and recreational land specialist and a Jackson County native who sees land through a hunter's eyes. Just as you trust your guide on a big game hunt, you can trust me to find the perfect property for you. Thinking of selling? Let me help you make your land attract buyers. Remember, Bo knows land. Call me at 256-609-0512.
Conference USA is bringing its premier basketball event back to the Rocket City. Don't miss the 2025 Conference USA Basketball Championships, March 11th through the 15th at the VBC Probst Arena, featuring 20 men's and women's basketball teams playing 18 games with CUSA titles and NCAA automatic bids on the line. Find out who's going to be putting on their dancing shoes. Tickets as low as $40. Visit Ticketmaster.com today to experience Conference USA hoops in the Rocket City, March 11th through 15th.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
And now a man who knows what you ate for breakfast.
Time now for the biggest thinker of them all.
He knows it all. He is Drew DeArmond. Listen to Drew and Scott Tyson weekday mornings. It's Talkin' Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
But that trick never worked.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. This hour is brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford, Alabama's F-150 Superstore. Welcome to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, 256-576-4977.
That's how I roll, and I'm not going to drink and drive anymore.
That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Wes and Steve.
And a very pleasant good Tuesday evening to you. Welcome into The Drive. Wes is out tonight. It was a last-minute substitution, but we'll hopefully hear from Wes coming up tomorrow. But we've got a full slate for you. Coming up in hour number 2, we will catch up with the head men's basketball coach for the UAH Chargers and Mick Hedspeth, as the Chargers on a 26-game winning streak. We'll also hear from Jake Crane as we'll dive into a little bit of Auburn on the hardwood as well as spring football as well. But I tell you, it's always a lot of fun to talk to our first guest right out of the gate, and that is Coach David Cutcliffe, of course, a special assistant, the commissioner for the Southeastern Conference. Coach, how are you this evening, sir?
Well, Steve, I'm good. I thought Wes never missed a game. What's up with that, huh?
Well, there is special circumstances, and I'll just say an unspoken prayer request would probably be in order for that as well, Coach.
We can certainly do that for sure, and I do hope that goes out well.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you.
Yes, sir.
26 games in a row. I'm listening to you.
Yes,
wow.
sir. I call this is my first season of calling Charger basketball was 2000, 2001, and this is a school record for the Chargers of 26 games in a row, Coach, and this has been a special group, very special group.
Congratulations to those players,
absolutely,
and coaches, and just keep it going. That's so awesome to hear, and I do realize we're right in the midst of basketball season, but as we all know, not just in this state, but mostly in this state, football never stops.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. But since you are talking basketball, you were at a basketball school. Now, what was your most memorable memory, either of a Duke game or maybe a conversation with Coach K, Coach?
Well, there's a couple real quick, I'll tell you. Eli and Peyton wanted to go watch them practice. They would come in for a week, every off season. I worked with them through their whole careers and their receivers. So we went over there to watch practice, and I got a real kick out of this. And he meant nothing by it. But Coach K was talking to him, and then he said, just kind of teaching some basketball. He said, point guard is the hardest position to play in all of sports. Peyton and Eli looked at each other, and he walked away. They said, when do they ever get hit by 300 pounds? So I really got a kick out of that one. And then first time, my first go-round with the Carolina game in Cameron, Peyton and Eli flew in. I had E. Schuler there. I had Chris Spencer, who was a first-round draft choice at the time with the Seahawks. And then Matthew McConaughey came in. And I had all of those guys in my office, okay? My office had a gazillion people in it, believe me. And ultimately, I got pushed to a corner, as you might imagine. Yeah. But I turned and looked who was next to me, and it was Matthew McConaughey. And I think every eligible woman, it was crazy. And he looked at me and he said, I always knew these women like sports stars best. And I said, I guess. I said, well, actually, Matthew, they can see them towering above the crowd.
Well,
so that's why they're all headed over there to get autographs. But it was pretty comical to be over there with that kind of celebrity pushed into the corner. And I was kind of glad to have the company. Otherwise, I would have definitely been by myself.
That reminds me of an old Tonight Show Carson bit when I'd see this on the anniversary shows, where I think the guest list was like Bob Hope and it was just A-list, and George Gobel, I think, was on it. And he said to Johnny, do you ever feel like your brown shoes in a tuxedo?
That's a great line. I'm going to remember that one because I can honestly say I have been brown shoes with a tuxedo. So that was my first Carolina Duke ball game. But I enjoyed the basketball. I enjoyed the young people that played it and meeting many of the alumni that are just outstanding people.
Yeah.
So it was a good circumstance. And Coach K and I talked a lot. We got along well. He was helpful in talking about how to go about recruiting at Duke and how to go about trying to build a program, in which we were able to do. And he was really good to me right up to the end.
Well, really. Coach, I know this is kind of the of at least in terms of being a football coach, kind of the nuts and bolts time of figuring out what you've got, and two, try to figure out what to do with what you got to get it better. How important is this time as a football coach before you crank up spring practice, Coach?
Well, it's critical. You also have your off-season conditioning program started. Your team develops its personality starting in January, and then with February being dead, nobody can come on campus. Coaches don't leave. It is a critical time to grow those relationships, to grow a personality with your team. The difficult part is that team seems to be ever changing, and people don't realize as they evaluate teams and coaches, for that matter, as the season goes on, you don't know what holes were unable to be filled in that critical development of a program. I mean, I'm giving a talk pretty soon about the art of coaching somewhere, and there are so many things as I was researching my old notes, and I love to go through all of my old notes and notebooks, and there's so many things that are so much more difficult for coaches to accomplish in this day and time. And so, we have a different generation, but we've never dealt with the portal and the transition that occurs. And I can tell you this, even when I was still coaching at Duke, when I went in there, and that was kind of a different youngster. They were busy, really smart, but busy, very technology advanced. What I did was an interesting thing, and I don't even know if you can push them this hard anymore, but I took what was my standard 2 hour and 15-minute practice and was able to put a process together. We had to learn the process, but we were able to put a process together that I could do a 2 hour and 15-minute practice, get the same number of reps in an hour and 42 minutes, because I didn't think we could hold young people's attention.
Okay.
Think about technology and what they had in front of them.
Yeah.
So it really was a challenge, but it worked great for us, and we got better every day. I mean, we literally, they loved it, and they knew. I even had a machine that would count the minutes between periods, and they knew they're better get ready to get started when the next period started. So, just efficiency is a challenge nowadays when you don't have that ability to develop kids into your program, into your way of thinking. And I don't know how they do it. I really don't. I wish we could see some change back, and I think it also has to be coaches deciding that you got to build great relationships still. That's not just transactional or about money.
Yeah.
And if you build enough great relationships and you build young people, they're more likely to stay with you for an extended period of time. But it's everywhere. I talked to one of my coaches that was on. We had 3 on the Ohio State staff. I talked with one of them. I called him, just not long after. I said, "All right, what's up? What's up after winning the national championship?" He said, "Well, trying to hang on to our backups because they all want to jump in the portal because they didn't play enough, and that's our depth and how we would want to grow the program. So you're working there, you're recruiting high school kids. You're going to lose some special players that take more money, go in the portal." So we're having to shop the portal to figure out what we need. So you just said it. It's chaos. And then on top of that, we have another spring portal. What if you get it figured out now, then it all changes in May?
Well, and the story that keeps growing right now, I believe Texas is the latest to say that they don't want to play a spring game. And, Coach, it's hard to blame these coaches of the situation that they're in of, hey, let's put a big old spotlight on my kids right before the portal opens. It's hard to blame them.
You don't want to do that. You also have a numbers issue. It's very difficult, the number of live reps that you have to get or can get. Those are 2 different things, get to get. And it's a mess. And, I know what Lane Kiffin did a year ago, and I didn't blame him, and the kids had fun. So, yeah, the tampering part of it all is difficult. People say, why don't they enforce it? Well, you have third parties that nobody has any ability to question, see phone records, agents. And so it's uncontrollable, other than if all the coaches quit doing it, quit dealing with them. But I don't, and I bring that up all the time. You can put somebody out of business by not using them. But, people will always come back with, Coach, I got to keep my job.
Yeah.
And I understand. I'm not being critical when I say any of that.
Of course.
Just my brain turns 900 miles an hour every day trying to think about a better way. It's not ever going to be what it was, but it doesn't have to stay the way it is right now. That's what we have to strive to do.
Is it fairly uniform when you're talking to current head coaches in the SEC on the issues they all collectively have to deal with, or are you hearing different issues at different places, Coach?
Well, I think the amount of money people have is significantly different from place to place. Okay, so what's the market for certain people is not the market for other people. Now, all of our coaches have integrity. They're doing things the right way. I was just with all 16 of them together. I am so impressed with those men, their ability, their energy, their intellect, their ability to open and talk and share. It's pretty amazing. It is. And I have the utmost respect for them. I am not in their shoes anymore. And I tell them, actually, I've never been in your shoes because it's changed that much. I was a head coach for 20 years, but not under the circumstances that we're faced with now. But certain coaching fundamentals, that's what I'm going to talk about with the art of coaching. And I talk to them about that. Certain things can't change. And if you think you can change those fundamentals because you feel like you have to because of the portal, well, you're never going to be a champion. You can't do that. You still have to have standards that a champion has. A champion is a champion long before they ever hoist that trophy. Don't ever forget that. That is the bottom line. So I get all fired up about it. I don't know if
am I mistaken, or did I hear a little Bear Bryant right there out of you, Coach?
Probably, my influences, I'm so blessed to have had the influences. I'm going tonight to the basketball game. I hadn't been to a game, but I'm going to go with Gary Rutledge, who was the starting quarterback down there. Excited to see Gary. I've seen him a few times. And then a couple of weeks ago, I went to the Rotary Club and got to listen and see Wilbur Jackson and John Mitchell, two dear friends that I care about. And, it was awesome. And Rick Davis was there. And so, what the heck? I'm not going to be working tonight, but I'm going to go down there and enjoy a basketball game.
That sounds like a lot of fun right there, Coach.
I will have fun, believe me. And I thought I was a great player. I know better than I thought I was.
Well, the other issue is something that you've had a very strong stance on, and that's staying at 8 games. Are you still standing firm that we need to stay with 8 games, or because Ross Dellinger and the like are believing that 9 conference games are coming, Coach?
Well, I think it could. I think you got to get into what is the process for the CFP first. Until I know the actual process, I can't say we can go to 9 games.
Yeah.
It depends upon what you have to get in. We saw a year ago that record losses meant more than anything else, period.
Absolutely.
And they can't argue that. I've talked to people that were on the committee. I mean, they can't. So, and I don't fault them. It's the first year we've ever done 12 teams.
That's right.
It's about impossible to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not full-time jobs for people. So, I'm doing my own research before I, put my foot down and shout. But, in the Southeastern Conference, it's different. And I keep telling our people, trust me, it's different when you play a conference game. You are going to be a different level of sore and beat up after an SEC football game than even another Power 4 opponent. It's just different. And when you go on the road 4 of those games, you're susceptible, you know.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to jump on the 9 bandwagon, and I know a lot of people will, and I know ultimately a lot of it comes back to money. Let's face it.
Yep.
Television partners would like that immensely, but at the same time, you know, I feel like my job is to think like a coach, and you know, I've been there. I know what it's like. So I'm gonna be the voice of those coaches until they tell me differently.
One thought that I had, Coach, was now that we have gone through one cycle of this, and you're exactly correct that wins and losses carried more weight than strength of schedule. That was pretty clear. But something else that was also pretty clear, at least to me, is maybe this made for TV release early in the season is a detriment and doesn't help, and actually, you know, pigeonholes the committee to, well, we can't change it as much as we would have had we not released the poll.
Yeah, I wouldn't release it. I never was a fan.
Yeah.
Like, I was always a voter on the coaches poll. And, you know, we used to do it early, and then we pushed it to October. And I really thought that was a little early because you do yourself the same way. You back yourself in a corner. And what the committee needs to understand is everybody remembers what you do in November.
Yeah.
That's the magic. And if you can't finish November, you're probably not a playoff team. I'm sorry to hurt some coaches' feelings, but yeah, I mean, they remember what you do in November. Yeah. I always would take our November schedule and make these placards of each team. Sometimes you had 5, sometimes you had 4, but I put them up in the facility because I never wanted them to forget what was coming in November. And if you beat them, we spun the thing upside down. And it was very obvious to everybody in the building. And it's the truth. Yeah. Even when you, like I mentioned, going to January, your team will remember what they did in November. If you slide in November, it's hard to recrank it back up in January with a lot of faith and hope and belief in what you're getting ready to do. So,
Rich Clark did say today, coming out of the meeting, that the SEC and Big Ten did not formally propose a format for 2026 and beyond, but multiple automatic qualifiers were broadly discussed in the room, according to the former general.
Yeah, and I hope that we have to get to that point. I mean, the imperfections were on display, right?
Yes.
We know that. So nobody can argue that fact. The imperfections existed. So we really are going to learn like anything else. I get, I hear all this stuff all the time when legal people tell me, well, we can't win that in court, all of it. And I tell them, let me tell you how many times I stood at midfield, looked at them, looked at us, and oh, Lord, why are we playing this game, And guess what? You know what? We won some of them, but when you didn't win, we had a thing called lessons.
Yep.
We immediately went as a staff and made detailed lessons because we were going to play them next year and we were going to beat their rear ends next year. So, there's a lot of ways to go about this thing. But hey, I'm getting ready to have to take off.
No, safe travels to Tuscaloosa, Coach, and I can't thank you enough for hopping on, Coach.
Yeah, I'm going to enjoy Gary Rutledge. We went to the same high school. He was a little ahead of me, and then Dr. Chuck Ellis. So there's another guy I was with at Alabama, and man, I'm fired up. Here we go.
Come on. Thank you, Coach. I appreciate the time sincerely.
Yes, sir. Take care.
That is Coach David Cutcliffe joining us right here out of the gate as he is heading to Tuscaloosa, and we're actually walking you up. This is a longer pregame than you'll get on the Crimson Tide Sports Network as Alabama, Mississippi State square off tonight. In fact, Bama is a 9-point favorite heading into that matchup. In fact, Alabama has won the previous 7 consecutive games against the Bulldogs from the folks over there in Stark Vegas. Alabama 22-5 overall, and heard earlier Jerry Palm talking with Thom Abraham about Alabama's resume of being a 1 seed. If Tom might be happen to pay attention to the tail end of that conversation, I thought it was pretty eye-opening of what David Cutcliffe, because he listens to all the head coaches in the Southeastern Conference. And as much as I can hear Wes right now saying, see, I told you, of when I see 9 games, I'll believe it. But there is no doubt that the committee did value wins over strength of schedule in this first go-around in the college football, the current existence of the college football playoff. The other news, or other notes, I should say, that came out, Ross Dellinger tweeting out, this is from Jim Phillips. He also did say that the Big Ten and SEC commissioners did not speak to reporters in Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti. But coming out, let's see here. Commissioner Phillips of the Atlantic Coast Conference said that the commissioners did discuss a 12, 14, and a 16-team model formats moving beyond the year 2025. So this is the second year of the experiment. We've gone through year 1, and it does appear seeding is not going to change because it has to be unanimous rather than a majority. After this year, once you get a majority, you can change the format. But the fact that everybody has to agree moving forward, I think we can all agree that seeding right now is a mess. Valuing a conference champion is great, is wonderful. But just because you win the ACC doesn't make you better than the second or even the third team out of the Southeastern Conference. Just doesn't. Anyway, that is David Cutcliffe. Let's go ahead and take our first time out. Phone lines open to you. Thom Abraham going to join in on the fun on the other side. It's The Drive. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Been thinking about what kind of truck you need to pull that big boat or shiny Airstream Classic? I'd like to invite you to feel the torque of an F-150 Power Boost Hybrid. It combines the forces of gas and electric power for over 11,000 pounds of towing muscle. Hey folks, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, where you can test drive over 200 new F-150s. And you can save up to $13,500 off MSRP on a 24 XLT 4x4 with the Power Boost engine. Save over $13,000 on F-150 today. On your way to a growing family or already have one? Then a Woody Anderson Ford Expedition is your ticket to ride. Save up to $12,000 off MSRP on a 24 Expedition at Woody Anderson Ford. $12,000 off Expedition. And there's more too. Get up to $8,000 off MSRP on the Agile and Sporty Escape ST line. And with a versatile 2024 Edge, you're looking at up to $10,000 off MSRP only at Woody Anderson Ford. Bring on the savings. I'm Bobby White, and I hope to see you soon.
It's an amazing time in our industry. Things are changing so rapidly. With digital signatures and workflow software, we help our customers work from anywhere. This helps you save time and money and upgrade your technology. Like I said, it's an amazing time to watch our customers grow and succeed.
The state's largest orthopedic group is growing to meet the needs of the patients in our community. The Orthopedic Center has long been the most trusted name in orthopedics in North Alabama. So as our area continues on the fast track, so does the need for premier orthopedic care anywhere and anytime you need it. TOC is proud to announce the opening of our new locations in Albertville and Hampton Cove, along with the grand opening of our newest office in Decatur. These clinics will offer the same high-quality orthopedic care you have come to associate with TOC, with the convenience of being closer to home. As a patient, your time is your most precious asset, and we recognize that at TOC. That's why we are also proud to announce the opening of our urgent ortho clinics. to handle those bumps and bruises that need prompt attention. These clinics are available to care for acute orthopedic injuries with no appointment necessary. With 38 physicians, 20 centers of excellence, and now more than a dozen locations to serve you, TOC will continue to be the name you turn to for the best orthopedic care at the right time. Visit our website at visittoc.com for more information. TOC, helping you live a better life.
By now, you know about Eagle Masonry and Insulation, and maybe you know that Eagle also does landscaping and dirt work. But how about after paint work? Shower doors, shelving, and mirrors, all taken care of by Eagle, the same Eagle that takes care of all your masonry, insulation, and landscaping needs. Eagle brings the same level of expertise to all these disciplines, and they're ready to provide you with a free quote. The website is the same, insulatewitheagle.com, as is the phone number, 256-755-1556. Give them a call and see what Eagle can do for you. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
Are you ready to be part of something bigger? Here at Qualys, we don't just support our national security and space programs. We fuel them with cutting-edge technology. From defending our nation to pushing the boundaries of space, Qualys is where innovation meets impact. Join a team driven by purpose, powered by critical technologies, and committed to making a difference. Your skills, your passion, our mission, where your career and your future takes flight. Apply now at qualys-corp.com.
This segment of The Drive is brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford, located online at woodyAndersonFord.com with 2 locations, Hughes Road in Madison and Jordan Lane in Huntsville.
Tuesday edition of The Drive. Wait a second, what is this right here?
Folks, what you don't understand is there is a show that happened before the show.
Yep.
And so Steve...
I was listening to the Blues Brothers soundtrack.
And I, by osmosis, was excited.
Yep. I've never heard this.
They actually had some albums outside of the movie.
Okay. I believe
that's from this. I forget the album, but...
It's a great song right there. I'm going to have to check that out. Original Blues Brothers, that soundtrack, awesome. Just awesome.
You know, and there's some stuff. I'm not endorsing the movie at all. But Blues Brothers 2000 had a couple of tracks that weren't bad too.
I never listened. I never watched Blues Brothers 2000.
There's a couple of tracks in there's not bad. It's got Paul Schaefer from.
He's in there. World's most dangerous band.
Yeah. All right.
Alabama, Mississippi State later on tonight. The Crimson Tide has 8 wins over AP top 25 opponents. That sets a program record for wins in a single season, passing the 22-23 team. You remember that number 1 overall seed team that didn't do so well in the NCAA tournament? Well, they're once again climbing up the ladder, and they are still currently a 1 seed. Is that Tom Abraham belching in my ear right there?
It is. I did drop a little bit of that in there. I didn't know you would pick that up. That's good ears by you. But yeah, they better win 2 more top 25 games if they want to stay in that 1 line, maybe 3.
Well, they've got that opportunity. I mean,
yeah, I don't think that they can anything less. I think 2-2 and win their first game in the SEC tournament, and they can maintain the 1 line.
Yeah.
But if they...
Is that what Jerry said? What did Jerry say earlier?
Jerry said win tonight and then take 2 out of 3 against the big 3 against Florida, Tennessee, and Auburn. He felt like if they beat Tennessee and Florida, that they don't have to beat Auburn, that they're a 1 automatically at that point. So I still think that at 2-2, they'll hold up. But what was interesting is Jerry said that in no way, shape, or form is he or Joe Lunardi in that case beholden to the polls. So the fact that Alabama fell to 6 in the polls, the polls are like, what have you done this week? They really don't take into account the whole picture. So for for both of them, still have them as a 1.
But this is why I wanted to get into this conversation a little bit right now, because the basketball mindset and the football mindset of just reacting to the poll that you just released. This is why I asked David Cutcliffe, are these polls that being released by the conference committee? Why are they beholden week by week to keeping Indiana in the top 10 or putting SMU higher than they need to be. It just, there feels like there's two different standards with these two different sports.
Well, and I also think that with football, we need not to know. All right, don't tell us how the sausage is being made, because you paint yourself into a corner. Now, if you want to do, you know how in basketball they'll let you know like a month or so before, okay, this is what it would look like, and then they
give us they give us the 16. Yeah, they give us that 16.
Yeah, give us the 16.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in football, if you wanted to give us 8 and say, look, this is what we're looking at right now is the top 8, okay, fine, but go away, because you pigeonhole these people 4 weeks before you make the final decision, and then now you're kind of stuck with that all across the way. What is the point, especially before the conference championship games? I mean, it's literally pointless. So I don't need to know, week in and week out, the last 4 weeks of the season, who is in what position if the season ended now, because the season doesn't end now.
Yeah.
There's just too much meat on the bone, at the end. I wish they would just do away with that. But, if the SEC and the Big Ten get their way, and I heard what you said about, after any decisions for 25, obviously have to be unanimous. And I don't know why the other conferences would line up, and want to change anything. Why would they want to go do away with the seeding scenario? That's the only way that the Big 12 or the ACC could possibly get a bye, in the first round. So those people are not going to want to change it.
Yeah.
And beginning in 26, it only takes a
two-thirds
majority
vote.
decision.
Yeah.
But the reality is, though, is the Big Ten and the SEC are running this deal. Starting in 26, it's going to be the Big Ten and the SEC that are really setting the standard for it, and they have the hammer. They're going to sit there and say, you know what, this is what we think it ought to be, and if you don't like it, let us know. Give us an advance notice, because we'll go ahead and grab about 5 or 6 more teams, and we'll see you. We're going to be the NFL light. We'll take 40 teams and go, and we'll be done with you people.
Is this, I agree in terms of scenario of how big of a sandbox do you want to play in, but is this healthy for the sport?
Yeah.
Is this good for college football?
It depends on how you feel about those first round games. This isn't the NCAA basketball tournament where one hot guard can pop a bunch of threes and carry a team to a big upset.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that. And we're not going to get any 16 over 1s or 15 over 2s in college football. It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. And, I just think we're going to get a preponderance
I
of,
would say never say
blowouts.
never, but I agree with you more than I don't.
Well, right now, at least. I mean, look, if Clemson was Clemson of 6-7 years ago, then they have every right in the world to be sitting there battling for a bye. If it was a 14-team deal, I'm kind of leaning now more towards 14, because I think that and again, this will be a 6-year deal when they do that from 2026 to 2020 or 2032. But, I like the SEC. I don't want to go away from the SEC championship game and the Big Ten championship. I think conference championships are worth something. I don't like the scenario that was floated out there that, 1 and 2v7 and 4 games to determine 4 seeds. And I don't want to see that. I don't hate the scenario where 1 and 2 play for the conference championship game, and then 3 plays 6 and 4 plays 5 for the other 2 automatic bids. But so I think that the SEC champ,
I've heard you go there.
And the Big Ten champ should get a bye.
But I've heard you go there a couple of times. The only pushback that I would have is how many games is too many. It is electric as
it's no more games.
Well,
how's it any more games?
If it was the 3 versus the 5 and 4 versus the 6 for those automatic qualifiers, you're adding a game.
Well, yeah, but you already have a 13th game for 2 teams. So what I'm saying is it bad to have a 13th game for 6 teams? For that day when 1 and 2 are playing for the SEC championship game, how does that hurt anything if 3 and 6 are playing and 4 and 5 are playing? Now, to your point, if you were to tell me that you were going to cut out a cupcake game, that you were going to back rivalry week up to the week before Thanksgiving and the week after Thanksgiving, that's when championship weekend was going to be, and you were going to have this mini playoff within the conference, that's a whole nother scenario. If the 12th game in the conference was, the top 4 teams playing, 1v4, 2v3, and that's the 12th game. And then everybody else matches up, right? So the 8 teams that didn't make it, or the, what would it be? It would be 12 teams. So those 12 teams, they play 6 games. So everybody's 12th game was the week after Thanksgiving, and their 12th game was determined by their position in the league. If you told me that was a scenario, I'm all over that too. And then only the 2 teams that survive the 1v4, 2v3, they go on and play the next week in Atlanta for the SEC championship game. If it was something like that, that would be fine. But any scenario that does away, Brandon earlier sent the text in and he's like, we don't need conference championships anymore because it's all about the national. I'm not going there. I still think that winning your conference means something.
Yeah, I think so too. We also got some news today out of D.C. and something to keep an eye on. There is a subcommittee hearing next Tuesday beginning at 10:15 Eastern time. And it is titled as, quote, moving the goalpost, end quote, how NIL is reshaping college athletics. And this is a scheduled hearing notice for next Tuesday at 10:15 Eastern time.
Yeah, a whole lot of blowhards blowing hard is all that's going to be. That's just going to be playing to their constituents, and this guy from Alabama, and that guy from Tennessee, and this guy from Indiana that thinks they got screwed, whatever. There's nothing comes out of those things. After having watched all the confirmation hearings, on Capitol Hill, it was like such a waste of time. People were going to vote what they were going to vote. Everybody uses it to filibuster. They don't ask questions, and nothing will come out of it until the only way this whole situation is going to get solved, this NIL question. I heard you earlier too. I think was it you or no? It was Paul talking about. Did you see in Louisiana now they put forth legislation that NIL income would be non-taxed?
Yes,
because they want to. They're not going to get beat.
There's a proposal. There is a proposal in Alabama to do it as well. It's already passed in Georgia and in Florida.
In what planet? Okay, I now declare that talent fees for radio talk show hosts are to be non-taxed. I mean, in what planet do we just get to change the rules and say, this income is not income because we want to, compete with another state that's going to do it. That's federal income tax, man. I mean, that's tax. That's taxable. These kids want to get paid. You know what? You pay taxes when you get paid,
and they don't want to pay Uncle Sam. So,
I mean, it's not the kids that put it forward; it's the schools because it's competitive advantage. So what Louisiana's saying is, hey, if you come and sign up to play at LSU, your NIL money, just like at Alabama, won't be taxed. No. Everybody gets taxed. We all get taxed. Stop that. Okay, wouldn't it be great to go to a place where radio income was not taxed? Hey, if you come and do radio in Oklahoma because we don't tax you on radio income. I mean, what the hell is that? I mean, that's not right.
Tom, the way it was explained to me when I was getting started, do this job because you love it and you would do it for free because for the first part of your career, you will.
Yeah. Well, we won't get taxed in the 51st state, right? It's all tax free in Canada, right?
We don't get taxed on exposure. You remember that? You guys all been around radio long enough. But this is great exposure for you.
People die of exposure.
I don't need any more exposure. Okay, I don't need frostbite. I'm done with exposure.
Indecent exposures.
Indecent exposures with that. I mean, to get out of here, exposure. But yeah. So there's so many things going on with it, and the thing that is going to confuse people the most, and this is going to soak up all the air in the room for us who do this job, is people are going to think that just because the schools are now going to have this pool of $22 million each to pay players directly, right? That there goes, all right, we're done with NIL. No, that's not the fact at all. No. NIL is still the wild, wild west, unregulated
that
over
would be
there.
The base. That would be the base for everybody.
Certainly, that's it.
Yeah.
It's the salary. It's like, for example, Peyton Manning, his whole career, he did all those commercials. That was NIL in the NFL. So Peyton Manning, he got a salary from the Colts, and he did a bunch of commercials, and he got paid for those commercials. So just because the schools are going to start chipping in, whatever, 22 million, spread along, throughout all of the athletic department, that doesn't mean NIL is going anywhere. The bigger issue is this transfer portal. We need to fix the transfer portal because let me tell you something. Next year, there'll be no spring games. Forget about it. You're not going to see a spring game after this year. I mean, nobody will be playing spring games because if these kids can transfer at the drop of a hat and put themselves in the transfer portal, during the third quarter commercial break because they don't like, the play call that came in from the sideline, as long as they can do that, no one is going to want to expose their team to any public scrutiny or anything else. So, I mean, we got to at least get to a 2-year contract. We got to get to something where a kid commits, he's good for 2 years, or, the NCAA had it right. They have no enforcement ability. The one free transfer, and then after that, you got to set up. That was wonderful. One free transfer to fix a mistake, or a 2-week window if your coach left. The coach if the coach left, then you get 2 weeks to decide if you want to transfer. Other than that, if you're going to transfer, you're going to sit out a year. They got to fix the transfer portal. That's the worst thing in college football right now.
And the fix is what?
The fix will be collective bargaining. All right, because these guys are going to get paid, so they need to have representation, and you got to get something out of it. You got to say, all right, look, we're going to pay you, but we need you to commit for a 2-year window or a 3-year window. Now, personally, for example, I love the baseball scenario in college baseball.
Okay,
you want to go into the MLB draft out of high school. You submit to the MLB draft, but then once you commit to college, you're locked in for 3 years. You go back in the draft. I wish basketball would do something like that. Well, you could do a similar thing with the transfer portal. Once you commit to a school, you are committed to that school for at least 2, if not 3 years, with one free transfer. But the only way we can get this done, because the government got involved, is through collective bargaining. They have to have some sort of representation, and it's got to be bargained, just like it is with the NFL. What are you going to give me? I'm going to give you money. What are you going to give me? I'm going to give you a 2-year contract.
The other caveat to that I really like, that I would like it to stick around, is the grad transfer rule, because ultimately
that's different.
Kids going to school, you go there initially to graduate, to earn your degree. And if you do that, you've got the right to go wherever you want to.
Yeah, that's a different animal. Congratulations, you got your degree.
Yeah.
Now you can go free transfer someplace and knock yourself out. So, but that's going to be the big thing, the transfer portal. And it's going to be in play in Tuscaloosa, because I think when we look at the Keelan Russell, Ty Simpson, Mac Austin battle that is going to take place at quarterback this spring, I don't think all three of those guys, Keelan will be around, but I think Ty Simpson or Austin Mack, one of those guys, or is it Mac Austin? No, Austin Mack.
Austin Mack.
One of those two guys are going to be gone. It won't be with them in the fall. I don't think they hang around. And the thing is, Ty Simpson better, I mean, I know it's his job to lose. He better look really, really good, because now with Ryan Grubb coming back with Kalen DeBoer, those two guys were married to this Austin Mack kid. And that kid, remember, that kid jumped out of high school a year early. He declared a year early.
Yeah.
That's a 5-star quarterback. If he plays his senior year in high school, that's a 5-star quarterback. That kid has got an excellent chance to win that job. But if he doesn't win that job, and it's Ty Simpson, and then how long is Keelan Russell going to hang around? Probably Ty Simpson for 1 year and then Keelan Russell. If that's the case, then Austin Mack is gone. Or if Austin Mack is the guy and Keelan Russell's the backup, then Ty Simpson is gone. There's no way to keep those three guys around.
We will dive into some Auburn Tigers on the other side, as Jake Crane is going to join us at the top of the hour. And also, how about this? This will make you feel old. Happy birthday to Bo Nix. He's 25 years old today. Wow. Bo Nix is 25 years old. Oh, boy.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Tom Luganville here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Are you tired of power outages disrupting your life? It's time for a Generac standby generator from Current Electrical. Storms may rage outside, but inside your family's powered up. So why choose Current Electrical for your generator needs? 1, we offer a wide range of models to suit every budgeted energy requirement. 2, our project managers handle every step of the process: power, gas, permitting, and inspections. 3, our certified technicians install your generator with precision, ensuring peace of mind. Don't wait for the next blackout. Call 256-880-1880 or visit us online at JetSuperstore.com.
I'm here with Stan McDonald of Jacob Title. Stan, I've heard that every real estate closing at Jacob Title is a very big deal. Why is that?
Wes, I'm reminded of a very impactful statement that I heard from Coach Gene Stallings years ago when he talked about big games and little games. He said he didn't like that comparison. He says, because try losing one of those little games, and if you ever do, it ends up being the biggest game all year long. Well, it's the same thing with real estate closings. Every game, every closing is a very big deal at Jacob Title, because when it's your closing and your contract on the line, it's a very big deal, and we understand that at Jacob Title.
So it sounds like whether your client is a first-time residential buyer or a multi-million-dollar investor, they can expect your A game.
That's exactly right. As a matter of fact, when you bring your real estate closing to us at Jacob Title, we understand it's all about trust and confidence. And when Stan McDonald tells you that a chicken dips snuff, you can look under his wing for the box.
And like Beams likes to say, there's no doubt about it.
Specializing in simple and affordable rentals, McCurry Van and Car Rental can make sure you have just the right vehicle for your next family vacation, weekend getaway, or if you just need transportation while your vehicle is being repaired. McCurry carries Ford Transit vans and Mercedes Sprinter vans, trucks and work vans, and more. And they offer discounted rental rates for long-term rentals. Now with 4 locations: Athens, Muscle Shoals, Coleman, and Huntsville. Log on McCurryRentals.com to make your reservation now. That's McCurryRentals.com.
Hey, do you have heating and air issues as the springtime starts to roll around? Hey, there's just one name you need to know: Talent Heating and Air. #1 heating and air business right here in the Tennessee Valley.
Yeah, we're locally based. If you call, you're going to get somebody based in Huntsville. I mentioned in spring earlier, we can actually do indoor air quality products, so we can help alleviate those allergy problems you're having in your house.
All right, Thomas from Talent Heating and Air, give them the number that when they call, somebody live and local will pick up.
That's 256-503-4490.
And you can always head to the World Wide Web and find Talent Heating and Air, and you guys will still respond.
That's talenthvac.com. If you don't want to talk to a person right away, you can fill out a form on there and get scheduled for a visit.
That's Talent Heating and Air. They're live, they're local. It's Talent Heating and Air.
AL certain number 21014.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A quiet night across the Tennessee Valley. Temperatures dropping into the upper 30s and lower 40s. Another day filled with ample sunshine across the area as we head into your Wednesday. We're also going to be a little bit warmer Wednesday afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the lower 70s. Cloud cover should begin to increase across the Tennessee Valley as we head into Wednesday evening and then through the overnight. Through the overnight, early into Thursday morning, temperatures only drop into the upper 40s and lower 50s. We're also going to begin to see a little bit of rain move into the Tennessee Valley. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
We are your home for March Madness. We are 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
It is The Drive here on a Tuesday. Tom Abraham, Steve Moulton here with you.
And we've declared it an all Blues Brothers Drive day.
I'm good with that.
So you're talking about feeling old?
Yes.
Because Bo Nix is 25?
25, yeah.
So today, this morning, I ran the Woody Anderson Ford F-150 over to
This hour brought
Ford to get
this hour brought to you by Woody Anderson
change.
Ford.
Yeah, took it over there to the quick lane lube to get the oil change.
Up
right,
on
so
the
I sit
hill.
down in the
Up on the hill.
Up on the hill there. Yeah, sat there. So I sit down in the waiting room while they're changing the oil on the rig. And they did a tremendous job, by the way. Appreciate that. Got me in and out, which was fantastic. So I'm sitting there in the waiting room, and on the flat screen TV there, Friends is on. Friends, okay?
Yeah.
The show is 35 years. No, wait, 30. The show is 30 years old, right? It was 1990.
Yeah.
It was the second year of Friends. The show is 30 years old, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, yeah, that looks like right now. You know what I mean? It was like nothing about that show that looked dated. It looked like, yeah, that's just normal. That looks about right. And I started thinking about it. If you go back to when Friends was on, and Brian would understand this a little bit more because he and I are closer in age, but you go back to when Friends was on, like in the 90s or in the early 90s, and you think about a show that's 30 years old,
Yeah.
you're talking about the Beverly Hillbillies. I mean, you're talking about watching like, Green, what was it? Green Acres or something, or the Andy Griffith Show, which looked like it was shot on the moon. You know what I mean? Compared to
that's TBS for me growing up, right there.
Yeah,
TBS.
That's what I cut my teeth on that. That and Mr. Ed.
Yeah, but those
I
were
Drew a Genie.
Yeah,
but we were little kids.
No,
shows were on, right?
I'm a Bewitched guy
Steve
myself.
saw them as reruns.
Yeah, I did.
She was hot, man. She was pretty hot, But
and Tom,
she was good. And
you
it was an
be any
unlikely
older?
couple too, by the way. No, it was an unlikely couple. Not Aunt B. I'm talking about like the Bewitched. She was hot.
Oh yeah,
I thought you were
Samantha all day long.
I was still an I Dream of Jeannie, but go ahead. Yeah,
Samantha all day long. I'll take a smart lady.
She was hot. She was hot. Get her out of the lantern. I mean, she was hot too. She did not need to be in that lantern, that's for sure. But on the Bewitched, her husband on that show,
which
that
one?
dude,
Yeah,
I mean,
Dick York or Dick Sargent?
Either one of them, both of them, both of those guys. That was so unlikely. It's like, you know what? You're not rocking Bewitched. You're not rocking her. Forget about that. I mean,
it gave dull guys
so you
like
tell
me some hope.
Elizabeth Montgomery had standards. You telling me Elizabeth Montgomery had standards?
She had standards. I
He
mean,
had a
she
good
was
job.
good. I mean, that'd be like Bill Belichick dating a cheerleader.
Well,
That's not really happening. Oh yeah, well, I guess
Wait a
maybe
minute.
it is.
Head over to our website, 977ESPN.com. Click on the Savings Never Tasted So Good logo right now. Right now, you can get $50 for just $25 for Lawler's Barbecue, for Sea Salt, for Carrabba's Italian Grill. How about some Bubby's Diner tonight, as well as Full Moon Barbecue? That is all for, and I don't think there's too many left, but I think there's a few Bigfoot little donuts for tomorrow morning.
Now, what other radio station will double your money?
And you get it immediately. That's
And you
cool.
do.
I mean, like
Right.
if you're thinking about going to dinner tonight, where am I going to go? Well, I want to go to Carrabba's. Okay, boom, there you go.
I
Go
did
buy
that
it
over the weekend.
and go.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I did over the weekend.
I know exactly. One hour from now, I'm going to get a text from my wife. What's for dinner? And I immediately go to 977 ESPN. Hit the deals, and I got dinner on the way home. I can solve that. You can make a problem go away and double your money right there with our deals.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go to junkyardbabe.com and ask her, hey, what's for dinner tonight? So she's in Nashville visiting my daughter, and she's like hustling home for dinner. And I said, no, Steve roped me into the drive. I said, we're not eating dinner till after 7:00, so no rush.
So when
we'll
is
see.
dinner usually for you, Tom?
We usually have dinner around 6, about
Okay.
6:15, somewhere like that. I'm waiting. I can't wait for daylight savings time. And it's so gorgeous right now. What's been cool is walking out of the Big Dog Production Studio here at 5:30, and it's light. I mean, we went through that whole month,
that's a lot
it's
better.
miserable.
By the way, that's a
you
week
go on
from
at
Sunday.
4:30 and it's dark.
That's
Yeah.
a week. That's
I mean,
a week
but
from Sunday. March 9th is when we spring
That's early.
forward. Yeah.
That's early. Are we going to ever get to the point where we just stay on daylight savings time? I mean, I'll take the dark morning.
That's proposed every single year, and it gets shot down by summer. I think we should just split the difference. Just fall.
30
just
minutes?
go 30 minutes and just
Yeah.
stay in the middle.
Like a half an hour either
I
way?
mean,
Well, there's some-
Alabama's already weird anyway. Let's just be different all the way.
Doesn't Arizona and Indiana?
Yeah,
I think,
there's
don't-
parts of Arizona.
Part of Indiana. Part of Indiana
Yeah.
does daylight saving time.
And parts of Arizona.
Well, what's
Indianapolis
weird
doesn't.
And what's weird in Tennessee is that it's split in the state, which is so annoying. Like in Chattanooga, they're Eastern time.
That's right.
But in but you go
how far away is Winchester from the is Suwannee Eastern time zone?
No, up on the mountain. No, they're central.
Okay.
The line is at Nickajack, just past Nickajack Lake. So it's about a half an hour west or east. A half an hour east of Winchester is where it switches. And then that's that goofy thing on 24 when you drive through there. You're in Tennessee. Now you're in Georgia. Oh, look, we're in Georgia. Now you're back in Tennessee. It's kind of weird the way the line runs there. And that caused big water wars too, because Georgia wanted that river, man. They're like, hey, that Tennessee River comes into our state. We're going to take the water. And we're like, no, you're not. Things we deal with them.
Jake Crane is set to join us at the top. I had to talk a little Auburn on the other side. There is no doubt that this Auburn basketball team has solidified itself as a true number one. Here is a little bit of Bruce Pearl from earlier today.
A lot of similarities between this Georgia team and the Arkansas team that we just played. Georgia's a top 35 defensive team in the country.
Sure. Yeah, talk them up, Coach.
Sure. Talk them up. Yeah,
nationally. Sure. They're 18th nationally at holding teams down at the 3-point line, about 29%.
Okay. Yeah.
that's a good one.
Yeah. There's only so much of that. I just
digging up stats. Well, if you play them on a Wednesday before 6:30, they hold people to 39% from 3 feet out beyond the arc. Okay, all right, Coach.
I miss.
Now you're going to beat them by 30.
I miss Pete Axtell. I loved me some Pete when he'd give those obscure little factoids of, well, there was a quarter moon when this happened. It was I miss Pete. He was so good back in the day.
Is Mercury in the microwave again?
Well, my favorite thing from Pete was the moto. He would give you the moto every week. And the moto was the master of the obvious. A game that was so obvious one way that you have to go the other way.
That's right.
Because it's a moto. Something's wrong with this game because the master of the obvious. So Pete Axtell and the moto was that was always fun.
I am curious to get Jake's thoughts on what he wants to see out of Hugh Freeze's squad, because honestly, I mean, we already don't really garner a whole lot out of spring football, period. But I'd like to believe that Auburn fans, especially how it ended in year one and how it ended in year two, I'd want a little something. I'd want to see a little something if I'm an Auburn fan.
Yeah. But it's interesting to see if he's got a number in mind. Is it 7? Is it 8? The 7 keep Hugh Freeze around? 6? I mean, what's the number? That's what I want to know.
Well, we're going to keep Thom past his dinner time. A grumpy big dog on the other side of this Sports Center update. Jake Crane joins us next.
Let's find him a sandwich.
Sandwich?
Sandwich.
Been thinking about what kind of truck you need to pull that big boat or shiny Airstream Classic? I'd like to invite you to feel the torque of an F-150 Power Boost Hybrid. It combines the forces of gas and electric power for over 11,000 pounds of towing muscle. Hey folks, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, where you can test drive over 200 new F-150s. And you can save up to $13,500 off MSRP on a 24 XLT 4x4 with the Power Boost engine. Save over $13,000 on F-150 today. On your way to a growing family or already have one? Then a Woody Anderson Ford Expedition is your ticket to ride. Save up to $12,000 off MSRP on a 24 Expedition at Woody Anderson Ford. $12,000 off Expedition. And there's more too. Get up to $8,000 off MSRP on the Agile and Sporty Escape ST line. And with a versatile 2024 Edge, you're looking at up to $10,000 off MSRP only at Woody Anderson Ford. Bring on the savings. I'm Bobby White.
WCZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is Sports Center. I'm Nick DeLuca. Diana Taurasi calling it a career, the all-time leading scorer in the history of the WNBA, announcing her retirement after 20 seasons today. Taurasi was voted the greatest player of all time by WNBA fans, a 5-time All-WNBA player, scoring champion, 14-time All-WNBA selection. Taurasi was league and finals MVP in 2009, scoring over 10,600 career points, only player in league history with more than 10,000. In August, became the first basketball player ever to win 6 Olympic gold medals. NBA Tuesday night getting going. 7 games on the schedule, none with more interest than Luka's first matchup with his former team. Lakers hosting the Mavs tonight. ESPN NBA reporter Tim McMahon expecting some revenge to be in the air.
Hell hath no wrath like a motivated Luka Doncic, and he is going to have something to prove to the Mavericks. He tends to find somebody in the stands to bark at, to target.
Yeah.
We will see if Nico Harrison, the Mavs GM, decides to sit in the stands today. If he does, I think there will be a one-sided conversation flowing toward him.
Lakers minus 9.5 on ESPN Bet. McMahon on NBA Today. In the NFL, the combine continues in Indy at the start of a big offseason for the Bengals. The team saying they plan to make wide receiver Jamar Chase the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Wednesday, I'll tell you what's the best and worst case scenarios for every quarterback needy team. It's Unsportsmanlike weekday mornings at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
97.7 ESPN The Zone. Welcome to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, 256-576-4977.
That's how I roll. And I'm not going to drink and drive anymore.
That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Wes and Steve.
We are over the airwaves as well as on WZZN TV, and currently over on WZZN TV as well is the Havoc Hour over at Zambrewski's. A full hour of hockey talk with Joe Hunk. Tonight, it's the Procopio brothers, Thom and Gio, on tonight with Joe Hunk. Again, that's over at WZZN TV, talking a little Huntsville Havoc hockey over on our YouTube page. Tom Abraham filling in for Wes Neighbors. Steve Moulton back here with you, and Mick Hedgespeth is going to join us in 30 minutes' time. All he has done is lead the Chargers to a 26-game winning streak. That is the longest winning streak in Division I, Division II, or Division III. That is the longest winning streak currently right now in NCAA men's basketball.
Steve, do I get Wes's check for tonight's show? Or what?
You can double it. You can double it. Yeah.
I'm just wondering if I get his fee.
But we might have to slice out a cut of it for Jake Crane, who's kind enough to join us. You can listen and watch Jake as well, co-host of Crane and Company. Jake, how are you this evening, sir?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. Just got the 4-box on a YouTube TV with all the college basketball games, so it's a great time to be an American.
Oh boy, I mean, could you be more all in with this basketball team that the Auburn Tigers have? That this defense has been unreal to follow.
Well, yeah, and I don't think it gets talked about enough. Everybody talks about the offense, and it's one of the most efficient that we've ever seen in the KenPom era.
Yeah.
But if you follow sports, whether it's basketball, baseball, or football, some nights the offense isn't there. Some nights I've seen nights where the Warriors aren't hitting shots. I've seen nights where the Dodgers can't score runs. You've got to be able to rely on different things. That's why I keep saying the most impressive win to me this year for Auburn is the 53-51 win over Tennessee. If you can win a game 53-51 and you can win one 94-85, you got a chance to advance a long way in this tournament.
Well, that was back-to-back games with Tennessee, and then you mentioned the 90-point game at Ole Miss. I mean, that felt like two different seasons in two different games, because I just there for a minute I thought it was going to be 10-5 at halftime. It really felt that way.
Yeah, if we were lucky, the way it looks. I mean, rock fights are a real thing. I mean, it's one of those things where you may shoot the lights out in the first round or the second round. then you get in the Sweet 16 and it turns into a bar fight late at night outside in the back, and you got to be able to win with rebounding and defense. And we always say on Crane & Company, regardless of the sport, the teams that win the most can win the most ways. And I think that's the biggest feather in Auburn's cap right now.
Well, that and also a very challenging schedule and testing yourself in very different ways heading into this stretch run. It feels like Auburn has tested themselves every way a team can be tested heading into the tournament.
No, without a doubt. And look, you not only tested yourself, you pretty much passed every test. So when you look at the analytics, and when it comes down to seeding and where Auburn could be, I mean, that resume, it's not only bolstered by your strength of schedule, it's bolstered by your ability to win those big games as well. You actually give yourself some room for error. And guys, that's what I've been saying. I've seen a lot of people in the SEC that are the fans that are complaining about, well, there's no guaranteed game. But if you're a team on the bubble, or if you're a team that's wanting to improve your seed, you need quality games down the stretch. Yeah. I mean, you could sit here and be North Carolina, where your last 5 games are against the Sisters of the Perpetual Poor, and then you get Duke, and really the only one that matters is Duke. But I'd rather be able to split and go 2-2, and those 2 wins matter the most, and those 2 losses don't hurt you that much.
Well, you mentioned Duke. I mean, everybody's talking about Duke and how hot they are, and certainly they look great against a depleted Illinois team, Jake. But, man, look at their schedule. Part of it is because the ACC is so bad, but they play like the number 55 schedule in the country. Auburn has played the number 1 schedule, Alabama number 2. I mean, it's just a different animal over here. And, as good as Duke has looked as of late, it's really not that close, between Duke and Auburn, the gap between the number 1 and number 2 overall seed.
Yeah, well, look, I'm a firm believer in 2 things can be true at once. Do I think Duke is a pretty daggum good basketball team? I do. But when you look at the body of work, you're right. It's not really close. And look, it's not their fault that the ACC isn't what it used to be. But at the end of the day, when you look at the way that this Duke team has navigated the schedule, yes, look, it looks good to beat a bunch of these teams that aren't very good by a lot. But I would rather take the tested team that has been through not only many of the battles, but many of the different type of battles. It's not like you played 2 good teams and you had a great offensive night for those 2 nights. You've had nights where you've struggled against good teams and had to find other ways to win. So that's why I think Auburn right now has that comfortable lead as the number 1 overall seed and should feel really good about themselves heading into this back stretch of the SEC conference, the SEC tournament, and then obviously the NCAA tournament.
How do you think, let me just one other question. How do you think they play out in Nashville if in fact they do run the table and they're clearly the number 1 seed in the country? Do you think Bruce Pearl values winning that SEC tournament, trying to put that together with the regular season SEC title, or is this going to be the proverbial old school John Calipari thing? Let's go ahead and rest. We're not going to emphasize that tournament. How do you think Auburn will attack Nashville if they get to the finish line and they're already clearly the number 1 seed in the country?
Well, I mean, you guys know this. Obviously, you want to win every game you play in, but I've seen it happen so many different ways, and I'll just use Auburn as an example. Last year, Auburn doesn't win the regular season. They win the SEC tournament, and everybody says, oh, you want to be playing your best ball at the end, and then you lose to Yale in the first round. But then I remember in 2019 when Auburn just ran through the SEC tournament and used that momentum to go all the way into the Final Four. So at the end of the day, I'm not going to put too much stock into taking this approach or this strategy. Every coach knows his team the best. If Auburn wins the regular season, would I be upset if they got the double bye and lost the first game they played? No. But you are judged now, and I think this is the biggest compliment that you can give Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates and some of these other coaches, is that you are judged by what you do in the NCAA tournament. Guys, I remember when I used to pray we'd just make the NIT.
That's fair. That's very fair. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, as much fun as it is for me to watch Auburn, there's one guy that I think you know who I'm about to say.
I get it. Can I go ahead and take the words out of your mouth? It's Chad Baker-Mazara.
Yes. I am not questioning what Bruce Pearl is doing. He clearly knows what he's doing, but that guy to me is just too much of a wild card to give that much rope to, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, and you think, and again, look, we hear this term in football all the time. You don't want to take their stinger away, right? You don't want to take away kind of what gives them that extra motivation. But, man, you got kicked out of the Yale game in the first round of the NCAA tournament last year. You would think at least a part of you is like, hey, man, I need to be a little bit emotional. I'm our fire starter, but you need to know when to say when. And it's situational awareness. Man, if we're up 12 points, I don't need you doing all those extracurriculars. If we're down and, we see coaches get technicals to get their teams going, or baseball coaches get thrown out of games to get their teams going, okay, it's situational awareness. But it's like every game, dude. Like, it's at this point, it's almost exhausting to kind of watch it happen the way that it's happening. And you look at Auburn, they're as old as the OKC Thunder right now. We don't need all that. Just go play good.
For me, my tipping point was the Oklahoma game at home with that little elbow out at midcourt.
Oh, that was in the ribs. That was the fake injury of college basketball.
I just tapped out right there saying, nope, I'm sorry. I'm done. I'm done with number 10. I cannot deal with number 10. So
he's an acquired taste. He's like escargot. You like him or you hate him.
All right. Speaking of acquired taste, let's head over to football, shall we? And tell me what you would like to see. Because spring football, we're getting less and less of it now, obviously, with all these coaches now saying no spring game. But ultimately, what do you want to see out of Hugh Freeze in his third spring?
Well, I think the spring game is kind of like the game in the Senior Bowl. During the spring, the practices are what matters the most.
Yeah.
The first thing is be healthy. That's after having been in those rooms, you want to make sure the guys that are proven are healthy. And there's always some good surprises and there's some bad surprises, right? You get the same thing in fall camp, so it's not really that different. But as far as Auburn in general, what I want to see is, and the funny part is, it's not even what I want to see. I want to be able to close my eyes and hear it. And that means multiple things. I want to hear the line of scrimmage sound the way it's supposed to sound with a dominant team. I don't want to hear referees' whistles and hear them talk and say this penalty and that penalty, or starting in 1st and 15. But the most important piece, and it typically is when we're talking about football, is the quarterback position and what Jackson Arnold can bring to this Auburn football team, and him taking that next step and maturing, and how he fits into an RPO offense that, guys, he struggled with at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back and watch, I mean, that was my biggest question mark about Auburn deciding to take Jackson Arnold, is that, it's one thing if I'm asking you to speak Chinese and you don't speak Chinese. But if you don't speak Chinese well, and then I draft you and I'm from China, I'm worried about how you're going to find the hotel at night. So can he thrive in an offense that is somewhat similar to what he came from, and that he struggled into the point where Michael Hawkins had to come in and take over for him?
Yeah, Jake Crane with us from the J-Boy Show. All right, so to the issue of spring ball, the big conversation this spring has been, and certainly Hugh Freeze was right at the front of this. Do we really need these spring games anymore? We're getting to that point. Now, I'm a coach that I wouldn't do it. I'd be honest with you, in this world of transfers, a kid goes and plays well in the spring game, and by the time he gets back to the locker room, his phone is jammed with 30 calls from other schools looking to snap him up. I don't like showing my roster to everybody when a kid can transfer so easily, and you lose a day of really good work in a spring game because it's a spring game, and you can get that done in practice. So where are you on it? Do you believe that Pearl has got it, or that Freeze has got it right, where, maybe we got to start moving more towards an NFL type of scenario, OTAs, mini camps, installation? We'll just do it all behind closed doors. We don't need to put it out there for everybody to see.
Well, I don't think we need spring games the way they are now, but for a different reason. I think depending on where you're at. I mean, if you're at Georgia, you're not worried about a guy balling out in spring and going somewhere else. If I have a Lamborghini, I'm not going to not drive it because I'm afraid it's going to be stolen when I go inside to get coffee. But what if and you guys know this, if you've ever been in that coaching room, the spring game, you're more worried about just getting through it. It's for the fans. It doesn't really help you that much outside of being able to go through, the game day process of this is what we're going to do, and this is where we're going to go, and this is how we're going to stretch or whatever. What I propose is a meeting of both, and I think it's the best way to do it. Why would you not to be able to save it for the fans and even make it better for the fans, and save it for yourself and make it better for yourself. Say, hey, why don't, if I'm Auburn or Alabama, why don't I play Troy in a spring game? Why don't I play UAB in a spring game? Because I'm not going to play you during the regular season, but if you beat me in a spring game with 2s and 3s, nobody really cares if we go have a really good regular season. And you don't know the plays I'm going to run because you've been hearing me call the checks all spring. You know the offense we run, and we get to hit somebody else, and the fans can just cheer for our team. Because how many times after a spring game, if the offense looks really good, you don't see the headline, offense looks really good. You see the headline, man, our defense is trash. So at the end of the day, why don't we keep the money in state, play a smaller school? We can both get something out of it. The fans can still go. You can have the running of the Gumps after the game, and they can come get autographs and all that stuff. I think there's a way to meet in the middle here.
I love it.
Well, that's what I always worry about. I always laugh when the fans go nuts on a big play in the spring game and the offense is like, torching the defense. And it's like, wait a minute, that's your defense they're torching. Okay.
Yeah, well,
I mean, don't get too excited about that. I mean, goodness gracious. Exactly. But I still, I'm not worried about my Lamborghini. I'm worried about my 67 Nova that I might need halfway through the season. I'm worried about 2s and 3s that I don't want to show the country. I guess, maybe again, that's the old coach of me that, but if you're playing, even if you're playing Troy or USA or whoever, and you're rolling out 2s, 3s, and 4s, those are the kids that transfer. Those are the ones that somebody's going to call and say, hey, look, you ain't going to see the field. You ain't going to see the field there at Auburn. You come over here. We got a place for you to play right now. Those are the kids I don't want to show. I don't care that, the quarterbacks can go out and ball out. That's donors,
baby. That's why we got donors. Come on, give them a little bit extra. My dad used to get $400 in his locker after the game before NIL was real. And like there's an air conditioning company that needs that backup guard there.
I'm glad there. I'm just glad there is some uniformity because for all those years of, is Gus calling plays? Is Gus not calling plays? Is Gus calling plays? Is Gus not calling plays? Now we can just have the Hugh Freeze conversation. Is Hugh calling plays or is Hugh not calling plays?
Well, you know what I've never understood, guys, and this doesn't, I guess this may happen in other businesses, but if I'm a chef that worked my way up and I got to the point where I can open my own restaurant, best believe I'm still back there whipping up the food, right? It's like if I'm a coach that got to this point calling plays, once I'm a head coach, I'm not going to give up what got me to this point. I think that was Gus's, biggest problem. But now at Florida State, he's the offensive coordinator. He's got no choice but to call the plays. So look, I can lay my head down on the pillow at night knowing that it was me that called the plays and they didn't work. It would scare me to death to know that I got fired from my dream job or from a big time job because I didn't dribble with my right.
Thom, I don't want to hijack your question, so I'll let you ask it, or do you just want me
Which one?
I'm talking
number. I want a number. Jake, I need a number for the fall. All right. What number allows Hugh to keep this thing going? And don't go to the old, well, it depends on which game they won or which game they lost. If it's 6-6, if it's 7-5, does it have to be 8? What number allows Hugh Freeze to continue to thaw at Auburn?
Well, if it's going to be 7, there better be a Bama win in the column, playing them at home. But look, I think overall, if everything's even, he needs to get to 8-4. It feels like 7-5. Not to revert to what you said, but you're going to have to beat either Bama or Georgia, who you both get at home, if you're going to go 7-5, because at some point you got to show proof of concept on the field, man. Like all these other promises and, hey, I'm going to take you out to this fancy dinner. Well, at some point you got to take me out to the fancy dinner restaurant and prove it to me so you can keep this recruiting momentum going. So I'm going to say 8-4. But if it's going to be 7-5, there better be a Bama or Georgia in the win column.
Jeez. I mean, because it's been since 2017 of a double-digit win season. And that was, by the way, and that was a very memorable season right there. Kerryon Johnson, most notably, Gus really rode him in a big way that year. But 8 wins, 9 wins, but then it's 6, 6, 5, 6, 5. It just this.
Well, if they can play Indiana's
Basketball
schedule, they
school,
can get to
man.
10, right? I mean, let them play Indiana's schedule.
Yeah, basketball school.
Yeah.
Jake, I can't thank you enough for the time as always, sir. Tell the folks how to tune in as if you need more of a billboard. Really enjoy your work over there at Crane & Company.
Oh, man, I appreciate you guys having me. Love what y'all do as well. Always down to come on. It's really easy to find us. Just go to Google. It's Crane & Company, CRAIN and Company. I mean, we're pretty much everywhere. If you listen, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, a bunch of other platforms I'm not smart enough to remember. And then video, we're on YouTube, Daily Wire Plus, Roku. Come hang out with us. It's a fun time of year, and I'm about ready to get in these brackets, fellas.
Yeah, Duke is really getting struggling out of the gate with Miami. They're only up 19-6.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's tough when you're out there playing against a bunch of middle schoolers, but I think they're going to find a way to probably cover that 23.5.
There you go. There's the number. That's what I was looking for. Thank you, Jake. Appreciate it.
All right, y'all be good.
Yeah, Duke went up, I think, like 15-2 in this game at Miami. And SportsCenter spent most of the afternoon at Miami talking to Mario Cristobal and really hyping up this game. Boy, big game in the ACC. And Duke is just undressing.
Did he talk to Carson Beck at all? I mean, did they?
No,
if you're talking Miami football, you got to talk to Carson Beck.
They did talk to Mario, and that he was asked difference between leadership between Cam Ward and Carson Beck, but no, there was no Lambeau questions floated towards Mario Cristobal. On the subject of some basketball, we will stay there. The longest winning streak in the nation. Think about that. The longest winning streak in the nation, regardless of divisions, Division 1, Division 2, or Division 3. That head coach joins us next right here on The Drive.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. Their locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
Hey, do you have heating and air issues as the springtime starts to roll around? Hey, there's just one name you need to know. Talent Heating and Air. #1 heating and air business right here in the Tennessee Valley.
Yeah, we're locally based. If you call, you're going to get somebody based in Huntsville. I mentioned in spring earlier, we can actually do indoor air quality products, so we can help alleviate those allergy problems you're having in your house.
All right, Thomas from Talent Heating and Air, give them the number that when they call, somebody live and local will pick up.
That's 256-503-4490.
And you can always head to the World Wide Web and find Talent Heating and Air, and you guys will still respond.
That's talenthvac.com. If you don't want to talk to a person right away, you can fill out a form on there and get scheduled for a visit.
That's Talent Heating and Air. They're live, they're local. It's Talent Heating and Air.
AL certain number 21014.
I'm here with Stan McDonald of Jacob Title. Stan, I've heard that every real estate closing at Jacob Title is a very big deal. Why is that?
Wes, I'm reminded of a very impactful statement that I heard from Coach Gene Stallings years ago when he talked about big games and little games. He said he didn't like that comparison. He says, because try losing one of those little games. And if you ever do, it ends up being the biggest game all year long. Well, it's the same thing with real estate closings. Every game, every closing is a very big deal at Jacob Title, because when it's your closing and your contract on the line, it's a very big deal. And we understand that at Jacob Title.
So it sounds like whether your client is a first-time residential buyer or a multi-million-dollar investor, they can expect your A game.
That's exactly right. As a matter of fact, when you bring your real estate closing to us at Jacob Title, we understand it's all about trust and confidence. And when Stan McDonald tells you that a chicken dips snuff, you can look under his wing for the box.
And like Beebs likes to say, there's no doubt about it.
It's laundry season at Owen Home Appliance Center. Tired of that washer walking out the door and having to dry a load 2 or 3 times? It's time for a new washer and dryer. Pick from brands like Maytag, GE, Whirlpool, Electrolux, and of course, Speed Queen. Try the new 2-in-1 GE Profile that washes and dries a load all in one machine. Visit the interactive location in Lacey Springs where you can try the washers and dryers before you buy them. Owen Home Appliance Center. Quality products, quality pricing, quality service. It's in the name, Owen Home Appliance Center.
Brian Bellamy State Farm Insurance, located in the Rosie's Shopping Plaza, strives to help customers find the best auto insurance, home insurance, life insurance, and more. No matter where you are in life, Brian Bellamy State Farm Insurance is here to help you find your best insurance and retirement needs. You can find them on the web at brianbellamyagency.com or call them at 256-539-7530. Brian Bellamy State Farm Insurance is a proud supporter of UAH Athletics and reminds everyone to go Chargers. Brian Bellamy State Farm, here to help life go right.
There's the phone and no one to answer.
256-576-4977.
And as a result, we got many phone calls and letters.
Give us a call on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline today. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
It is a Tuesday evening, The Drive. Thom Abraham, Steve Moulton here with you. Brian Temple behind the glass, spinning the hits. Tomorrow,
Funky ass off. Blues Brother 2 South.
Tomorrow night will be a whole lot of fun. Myself and Scott Tyson will head up to Allen Arena. It is a big night for the Lipscomb Bison as they're taking on Central Arkansas. And in case you're looking at your radio funny and are wondering why in the world are we doing this game?
Hey, Steve, why in the world are we doing this game?
Well, we're doing this game because it is the 2 former UAH head coaches squaring off. Lenny Acuff battling John Schulman. And, of course, I've had the pleasure of getting to know both gentlemen quite well through my years of calling UAH Charger basketball. And, oh, by the way, the Chargers on a bit of a heater. A 26-game winning streak for the UAH Chargers under first-year head coach Mick Hedgespeth, who is kind enough to join us. Coach, how are you this evening?
I'm great, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Fun to catch up with you in what has been a fun season. And I'd like to just very generally out of the gate, what have you seen as the biggest growth on this team from Nova till now?
That's a good question. I think just with a few changes that we've made, playing a little bit faster in transition, offensively, having a little bit more freedom within our structure maybe, and then a few defensive tweaks as well, trying to use Daniel Saylor as a little bit more of a rim protector in that capacity. I think just understanding some of those small tweaks and the nuances of those. I feel like there was a point in the season, maybe halfway through or so where it's kind of like, all right, guys, we've seen just about every type of offense that, we can see. We've seen about every type of defense that we can see, and we have a good understanding of how to counteract both of those. And then with a veteran group who've experienced a lot of games in a UAH uniform, I think just continuing to understand, what we're trying to accomplish on both ends and continue to, be a player-led team, I think would be my summary to your answer. I think we started out by being more coach-driven, and now at this point in the season, they're telling each other what to do, and that makes my job a little bit easier. So it's nice to just, see those guys really coach each other, hold each other accountable, push each other, encourage one another. It's been a really fun scene to be able to develop here throughout this point in the season.
You mentioned all the experience coming back on this team, Coach, but there's one guy that you're omitting right there. It's someone you know quite well, and Blake Campbell. Did you see him seamlessly transitioning as much as he has on this team this year, Coach?
Yeah, I just lump him in. You know, he's a UAH guy at heart. He's an engineering major, really high academic, you know, really skilled, fierce competitor, humble, driven, competitive, all the things that we want our guys to be about. You know, that's Blake Campbell. And, I guess he had a little bit of an advantage of playing under my tutelage, I guess, the last couple of years at Barry, and knowing kind of the lingo and the terminology and some of the strategy, and he's been able to help guys acclimate in that regard as well. And I did see him, you know, just being a really good fit. He's one of those guys that was a late bloomer. He grew 3 inches in college. He couldn't even dunk in high school, and now he's competing in our dunk competition alongside Daniel Saylor and Austin Leslie, which are two pretty good athletes there. So
yeah,
you know, he's 6'4", really skilled. You know, he leads us in free throw attempts, which is a pretty impressive feat given our personnel. And he's been you know, just someone who can really create when we need him. And he's had some big moments for us this year.
A lot of big moments. But what kind of stands out to me, Coach, when I take a look on this season, I'll never forget talking to you after your only L as a UAH coach. And I remember asking you about the locker room after the overtime loss to Nova. And it was, I mean, Coach, you were there, and we were actually there at the scene of the crime just over the weekend at Montevallo, of just the way the team held together, albeit a 1-point loss to Nova. Did you kind of get a sense of what you had even after that loss to Nova, Coach?
I think we all did in a way. It was kind of a twofold locker room emotional experience. I felt in a sense, obviously all of us were really disappointed that we lost the game. We were right there. We had a lead late. We had opportunities, shots in the air as the buzzer expired, both in regulation and overtime. So we definitely feel like we, you know, could have capitalized in that opportunity. And then at the same time, I think we both understand the program that Nova is. We have a ton of respect for them. We knew they had a really bright season ahead. And I think just as, again, there's so much new, an entirely new staff, you know, it's not just me, but all of our assistants, you know, Blake thrown into the mix, our first game, after, you know, some scrimmages that were tough, you know, most notably tying our alumni 92-92. So, you know, I think I think what it did is we were really disappointed, but also I sensed some belief and some confidence in, like, okay, we've got a chance. And I think that has certainly carried over and been with us since then. So in a weird way, even though it was a loss, I think it was a great moment for our team that we've been able to build off of.
And really the last stretch of 4 to 5 games, you've been winning differently, be it 106-104 at AUM stands out. Very efficient at Montevallo, 96-88. And although I will say, Coach, since I didn't get a chance to talk to you before the Montevallo game due to other circumstances, halftime at AUM, was that as mad as you've gotten this year? You didn't look very happy to me, Coach.
Yes, that was as mad as I've gotten. Yes, that's one of the few games I didn't feel like we were playing and approaching the game to our standard. You know, we were fortunate. I mean, not many times you give up 104 in regulation and come out on top. So
yeah,
we have had to win a little bit differently. And it's really interesting, you know, the season, there are ebbs and flows and games when you're scoring it really well and not scoring it very well. I feel like once we came back from Christmas break, prior to Christmas break, we had 5 or 6 games there where our offensive numbers were through the roof.
Yeah.
And then you come back and we were, I think we shot like 31% from 3 for a 10-game stretch. So that's not where we want to be, but our defense really carried us.
Yeah.
And we held some teams to some low numbers, and then all of a sudden this weekend 2 teams explode and they average 90 something points as we give up 104 and give up 88. So to our guys' credit, they're poised in those moments when things are not going well. They accept it when I challenge them or when they challenge each other, and they have a high level of belief in themselves and winning DNA that they can find a way. I hope that we can continue to stay really hungry to learn and grow from these opportunities. The old saying, if you don't learn in victory, you'll learn in defeat, right?
Yeah.
So we've watched film today and practice, and hopefully we can clean some things up, especially defensively.
I know you played for Coach Bird there at Belmont, but who else do you lean on in terms of some advice when you're on a heater like this, Coach?
I went into Les Studemann's office
there you go.
last week. There's not many folks who have been on nearly as many heaters as her. So definitely pick her brain and Coach Bird, of course. So lucky to have some of those resources.
Tommy Murr named, I wonder if they're just going to rename the award there for the GSC, but also as well, some national attention towards your point guard there. And Tommy Murr has just been so efficient. He was named National Player of the Week for his performance. I just want to open the floor on what Tommy has meant to this program this year in your first year, Coach.
Well, he encaptures everything that we want a UAH player to be about. He's number one, incredibly high character, team first, about all the right stuff. He's an incredibly hard worker. Even after his last 4 games, I think he's had 27, 29, 41, and 33 the last 4 games, something along those lines.
Yeah, that's right.
At an incredibly efficient clip. After practice today, he asked me to watch film and go through some ball screen reads, and just we talked a lot about our team and how he can continue to lead and serve our team. He craves that. He wants to max this thing out and make this year as special as it can be and finish it in that way. So I just have all the respect in the world for Tommy, and I'm thrilled for his individual success, and I'm even more proud that I know it. Literally, he's all about the team. If he needs to, he's had a bunch of assists lately too, which flies under the radar with his scoring. But if there have been games this year when he needs to, turn attention more to Blake or to Luke or to Saylor or whoever, and he is more than willing to do whatever we need to do to help our team win. And that's rare. I've heard Coach Acuff say and some of his podcasts and interviews and whatnot that we're all born selfish, right? But there's not a selfish part to Tommy, and that's what makes a great point guard and a great winner.
Well, a week from today, a very special. Listen, it's not as if I am trying to set you up to just look past West Alabama. That's a big game on Thursday. But a week from today, a very big event, something that's never happened in program history, and that is a doubleheader, a home doubleheader for both men's and women's basketball over at UAH. And this is 2 first-year head coaches as well. If you could just comment on what you've seen out of the women's team as well, and just the fact of what they have accomplished under Coach Sharp.
They've accomplished so much. Coach Sharp has done an unbelievable job just creating a winning mentality in their team. I walk by and see him practicing sometimes, and he gets after them. I love it. It gets me fired up when I walk by and see him coaching, and they're through the roof in rebounding margin, one of the top teams in the country. They're really tough. They're really skilled. I feel like every time I watch, I usually sit down and watch second, third quarter, and part of the fourth when we're not meeting, and they're making threes in bunches. They've got good interior post play, good guard play. So I'm thrilled for them, thrilled for their success, and excited to see what they can do here in the postseason.
And again, that doubleheader is a week from today. Women will tip at 5:30. Men will follow like it's a normal gig. Yeah, it's just like it's another day in the GSC. This is a big deal, Coach.
That's right, and I think that anyone who comes out to Spraggins on Tuesday, March 4th, 5:30, 7:30, watches our games, I think you would be really pleased with the product that's on the floor, with how both teams represent themselves. It would be well worth the price of admission and your time, and we really need you there for any listeners. We want to continue to pack the house. We've got the highest attendance in the league. It's been a huge reason for our success. Been our sixth man, and all the credit to our fans, and we really want to pack it out and make it as electric of an atmosphere as possible on Tuesday.
The only caveat I'll say is even the baseball team's welcome in, right, Coach?
That's right. They are welcome. Get loud, get rowdy, just don't get thrown out.
Coach, I can't thank you enough for the time. I will certainly visit before West Alabama coming up on Thursday. We'll have the game for you right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Thank you so much for hopping on, Coach.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate the coverage. Have a great night.
That is the first-year head coach, and all he's done is win 26 out of 27 games. Thom.
Well, you know what the best thing about Coach Sharp is?
What's that?
He said he listens to the Tom Abraham show every day at lunchtime. He's a smart man. I mean, it's obvious that guy came here. He's a smart dude.
Yeah.
What's fascinating about him, though, in all seriousness, is the fact that he's jumped back and forth between coaching men and women. Usually you get pigeonholed. You're either a women's coach or you're a men's coach, but Coach Sharp has jumped back and forth and coached both. And at one point, the place he just came from, he was coaching both at the same time.
Wallace
I mean, not
State,
like during the same Wallace State, not like during the same practice. You know what I mean? He would have like one practice and then the other. But dude was coaching both the men and the women.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine trying to do that?
I can't. Well, and not only that is it a young man's game. Can you imagine? You're dealing with the testosterone of the 18 to 20-year-old, 21-year-old male, and then you got to deal with the estrogen of the 18 to 21-year-old female, and it's such a different mindset. And you wonder, how do you shift your brain into dealing? Mary's problem is so much different than Bill's problem, outside of, because coaches, you know what I mean? Coaches are a lot more than just coaches, you know what I mean? They're like life coaches for these kids.
Got their feelings hurt because the ladies were better than them.
Well, whatever. Yeah, right. It could be. I mean, whatever it is. And, does he ever say it? My girls team can shoot foul shots at 81%. Why are you guys at 72? It's the same 10-foot basket. It's the same foul line. Why are they shooting better foul shots than you? But no, I don't think he was going there. But it's amazing what the men. I mean, at any level. I mean, 26 that's 26 nights of not being off, not being having balls rattle off the back of the rim. 26 in a row of looking good, and and they're gonna see Nova again. They'll see him again. Now, Steve, I need to ask you because I'm ignorant. When it comes to the D2 tournament, they don't have to win the Gulf South tournament. I mean, if they get upset in the Gulf South tournament, they're still in. Yeah, they're in no matter what. This isn't like the teams in the smaller conferences.
No, this is not a one-bid league. But I will tell you the way that they do it in terms of regional rankings, we're in the same region as Nova, meaning the number 2 ranked team in the country and the number 3 ranked team in the country are in the same region. So yeah. So you're going to have region hosts have like 8 losses, and this region have 1. So
what is the benefit of winning the Gulf South tournament?
For other teams or for UAH?
No, for UAH. I mean, is there any real benefit for them to bust a hump to win that tournament? I mean, or is it like, if we win, we win.
It's. I mean, every team wants to win every single game they obviously play, but in the end, how much of a benefit there might be with like an L heading into the NCAA tournament might be, maybe. But the way this team is constructed, this team just has a different gear when they get tested because they have been tested here over the last 5 weeks, and they keep finding ways to win. But to answer your question, I think the Chargers will be a 2 seed even if they don't win the Gulf South Conference basketball tournament. And Nova will be the 1 seed.
Which is ridiculous, really. I mean, they should be in different regions and both be 1 seeds.
That'd be nice. This is the equivalent of Huntsville and Hoover playing in Jacksonville State for an Elite 8 matchup.
Which is kind of goofy, too. I mean, they had to figure out a way to fix that. I mean, I don't know what the exact fix is to it. I know some people are saying, no. But I'm with Schweers on that. I think they should fix that somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be a way to.
Not every year is created equal, and this one is really top heavy in the South region. But if it means I got to go to Fort Lauderdale, then dadgummit, I got to go to Fort Lauderdale again. So
gotta do what you got to do, Steve. Got to do what you got to do, man.
But there is an opportunity, though, that the women might make the NCAA tournament as well, and it looks like that Embry-Riddle would be hosting, and that's around the Daytona area.
Oh, so look at you.
There is and the days are different, so there is a chance I could be running up and down that East Coast.
I think you need a field producer.
Yeah, I need a field producer, a chauffeur.
Yeah, a chauffeur, a field producer.
Okay, all right.
Cabana boy, something.
Okay. I'm for it. Let's go ahead and take it's not 52 yet, but let's go ahead and take our final timeout. And
I got something I want to chip in when we come back.
All right.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
If hunting and outdoor recreation are your passions, it all starts with the right property. That's where I come in. I am Bo Butler with Southland Realty and Auction, a hunting and recreational land specialist and a Jackson County native who sees land through a hunter's eyes. Just as you trust your guide on a big game hunt, you can trust me to find the perfect property for you. Thinking of selling? Let me help you make your land attract buyers. Remember, Bo knows land. Call me at 256-609-0512.
Are you tired of power outages disrupting your life? It's time for a Generac standby generator from Current Electrical. Storms may rage outside, but inside your family's powered up. So why choose Current Electrical for your generator needs? 1, we offer a wide range of models to suit every budgeted energy requirement. 2, our project managers handle every step of the process: power, gas, permitting, and inspections. 3, our certified technicians install your generator with precision, ensuring peace of mind. Don't wait for the next blackout. Call 256-880-1880 or visit us online at jetsuperstore.com.
Eagle Masonry and Installation. It's right there in the name. Eagle is your one-stop shop for block, stone, or brickwork, monument signs, and outdoor kitchens and fireplaces. Eagle also offers the finest craftsmanship and insulation, including fiberglass or spray foam insulation, and of course, insulation removal. Philip Love and his team have years of experience, bringing the region the best in masonry and insulation services. For more information and a quote, visit insulatewitheagle.com or call 256-755-1556. Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Are you ready to be part of something bigger? Here at Qualys, we don't just support our national security and space programs. We fuel them with cutting-edge technology, From defending our nation to pushing the boundaries of space, Qualys is where innovation meets impact. Join a team driven by purpose, powered by critical technologies, and committed to making a difference. Your skills, your passion, our mission, where your career and your future takes flight. Apply now at qualys-corp.com.
I'm here with Stan McDonald of Jacob Title. Stan, I've heard that every real estate closing at Jacob Title is a very big deal. Why is that?
Wes, I'm reminded of a very impactful statement that I heard from Coach Gene Stallings years ago when he talked about big games and little games. He said he didn't like that comparison. He says, because try losing one of those little games. And if you ever do, it ends up being the biggest game all year long. Well, it's the same thing with real estate closings. Every game, every closing is a very big deal at Jacob Title. Because when it's your closing and your contract on the line, it's a very big deal. And we understand that at Jacob Title.
So it sounds like whether your client is a first-time residential buyer or a multi-million-dollar investor, they can expect your A game.
That's exactly right. As a matter of fact, when you bring your real estate closing to us at Jacob Title, we understand it's all about trust and confidence. And when Stan McDonald tells you that a chicken dips snuff, you can look under his wing for the box.
And like Beebs likes to say, there's no doubt about it.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A quiet night across the Tennessee Valley. Temperatures dropping into the upper 30s and lower 40s. Another day filled with ample sunshine across the area as we head into your Wednesday. We're also going to be a little bit warmer Wednesday afternoon. Temperatures climbing into the lower 70s. Cloud cover should begin to increase across the Tennessee Valley as we head into Wednesday evening and then through the overnight. Early into Thursday morning. Temperatures only drop into the upper 40s and lower 50s. We're also going to begin to see a little bit of rain move into the Tennessee Valley. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Never miss 1 second of Charger basketball with the Charger Zone.
Murray attacks it, lobs it, jamming it down. There's Daniel Sandler on the alley-oop right out of the game.
Only on 97.7 ESPN.com and the 97.7 ESPN The Zone app.
Taking us home.
Told you, all Blues Brothers.
Yep, I'm good with that.
I can't even talk. My head's bobbing up and down like crazy here. It's a good thing we're not on camera, man. I can hit my head.
Such a great song.
Sweet home, Chicago.
Walking you up to Crimson Tide basketball as the Alabama Crimson Tide taking on Mississippi State. Coming up at the top of the hour, pregame will start. If you haven't, you need to download our app. Just search 977 in your Apple Store, just your Apple Store. No, wait a second. We're also in your Google Marketplace as well.
Better have it over there in the Google Marketplace, or I got to talk to somebody.
Well, no, the last time I said it, Joe Hunk said, well, you clearly have an Android because you always start by saying Google Marketplace.
Oh, okay.
So that's why.
It's on both.
Yeah. We're equal opportunity around here.
That's
Thank
right.
you very much.
If you got an Apple or a Samsung, I'm just proud to say this puppy's paid off. Yeah. So it's probably going to die tomorrow. Anyway, that's just the nature of the beast. What do you got for me, Tom Abraham?
We were talking earlier about the spring games. I don't know if you saw the comments that Kalen DeWar made to the folks at On3 regarding this year's 8A game for Alabama. And, remember last year they did do the steak and beans, right? They did the steak and beans.
Right.
They had a game that was a game. Well, DeBoer is already prepping the fans that things are going to be modified this year. I mean, it's going to be different this year. Now, what does that mean? A lot of times here, the 8A game, it's been more of a practice. And there's been some scrimmaging, but not necessarily much of a game.
That's right.
Let me stop right there. When the heck was it like that? When he says here, is he talking about here with him? Or is he talking about here? Because here, it's been, 92,000 people showed up to see a game, and there were steak and beans. And
Under no circumstances will I be eating beans on Monday.
It was a thing. That guy said, I'm not eating beans no matter what. So he went on to say, he said, even when I was at Fresno State, we called it the spring preview, especially this year. There's some things we're working through with some injuries and so forth. So it definitely will be modified. We want to try and have some type of event around April 12th. Close quote. Wow. Some type of event around April 12th. So I'm just saying, I'm prepping you folks.
Wow.
I don't know what you're going to, some type of an event, he says, around April 12th.
This is not a competition. It's only an exhibition. Please, no wagering.
Oh, there's plenty of wagering, David. There is plenty of wagering.
Yeah. So
even his language is different than Nick's, and I don't know how aesthetically pleasing that is for Alabama fans.
Yeah, just come out and say it. All right, just come out and say, don't say, well, we want to have something for that day. Don't beat around the bush. Just tell us that, look, I don't want to do this way or whatever. He said, quote, we certainly understand the impact that putting things out there for the whole world to see what that can do, especially related to the transfer portal, whether it's guys in or guys out. I get all of that, and I know there's different reasons for different programs, close quote. So, there you go. I mean, again, and they're going to have a battle. I'm not worried about we are worried about who the number one quarterback is going to be. Yeah. But the question is the number 3 perceived quarterback after that day, if it's perceived that, Ty Simpson or Austin Mack, or I don't think you worry about Keelan.
Yeah,
freshman. But if it's perceived that one or the other is behind, that kid's phone's blowing up because somebody's calling Ty Simpson and saying, come here, we'll start you tomorrow. And that's why I say, how much do you want to reveal about the battle between Austin Mack and Ty Simpson, for example?
He too can drop the football before the goal line for your football team.
Well, come on.
I know kids get better, but if there's one indelible image that I have right now with Ty Simpson, it's that. And maybe that's unfair, but
yeah, no doubt about it. You have, by the way, broke into my original 6 time. I have a rule. I have a personal rule that I watch any hockey game that's original 6, and it's Bruins. Bruins and Maple Leafs are playing right now. Very important game for the Bruins. Maple Leafs are the number 1 seed in the East right now, and they Bruins are leading that one 2-0 at the end of
one. What breaks my heart is how bad the Nashville Predators are. That is just some awful, bad hockey.
They are a train wreck right now. I thought by now Barry Trotz would be on the bench, to be honest with you. He should name himself.
It is.
And one other note, there is a story that has been posted at Barrett Sports Radio, and this is kind of a behind-the-scenes thing. This is a trade magazine that we all kind of follow. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the headline is Sports Radio's advice on how to navigate the dead period, which is the month of February, according to them, after the Super Bowl and before March Madness.
What?
And you know what I say?
What?
Screw that. What dead period?
Yeah.
How about entertain your audience? Here's your advice. Here's a guy 27 years on the air, and I'll tell you what your advice is to navigate the quote-unquote dead period. If you're afraid that the NFL is over, all I'm talking about is critical basketball games in college basketball down the stretch to set up college tournaments and setting up the NCAA tournament. We're talking about, we just had this unbelievable 4 nations thing.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
We got off-season stuff. We got the SEC and the Big Ten changing the world of college football. We could talk about that. And you know what? How about just entertain your listeners? Just do an entertaining show. You don't have to break down the footwork of the 3rd-string left tackle at Auburn to be entertaining. Just entertain your peeps.
Yeah, you mentioned some hockey scores. How about this basketball score to pass along your way? Georgia leads it over Florida at halftime, 51-35.
Holy mackerels. Well, there you go. Auburn will probably they'll probably have to forfeit the game against any more games against Georgia because obviously Georgia's loaded. And look, none of us watch regular season NBA. I get that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this: if you're going to watch one regular season NBA game tonight, Luka Doncic is in Los Angeles to play against the Lakers or to play against the Dallas Mavericks.
I'm out.
And keep in mind, the Mavericks said they traded him because he was fat, lazy, and bad in the locker room. If Luka Doncic doesn't score 50 tonight against the Dallas Mavericks, I'll be stunned. So if there is a game you want to watch that one.
I am going to be locked into Mississippi State, Alabama, and then later on tonight, I think Mizzou, South Carolina could be a sneaky good game.
Yeah, that game. This one doesn't tip till 10 o'clock tonight, so don't worry about it.
Late
watch
night.
All of that.
Tennessee is at LSU tonight. They should mop the floor with LSU.
Yeah,
but we'll see what happens in the second half. Can the Dogs pull off a big upset?
That'd be huge.
Yes, it would. Thank you, Tom.
All right.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. Your home of the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
Roll Tide.
Makes a pass down there. Oh, the slam. Plays it up. Turnover. 73. Oh, goodness. Elevated. Threw it home. 2 seconds. One. Buzzer. Ball game for the Tide. We